It's 5 p.m., man. Y'all know what it is. Time for another episode of the Ultimate 216 Show. Let's get it. What up, good people? Man, it's your host, Earl Da Pearl, tuned in for the latest episode of the Ultimate 216 Show. Fast as 30 minutes on YouTube. Y'all know how I go. Got a stacked show, not too long to do it. First things first, y'all know what it is. Drop the hashtag U216 and let me know where you're watching from currently. Before we get started, two things. First things first, man, congratulations to former Indians pitcher Its Cavalier that's being inducted into the Cleveland Guardians Hall of Fame. He is the 48th member to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. We had the pleasure of having Its Cavalier on our show, I think about a year and a half ago, man. So shout out to you, CC. Not only that, man, shout out to you all. As you all know, we've been pushing to reach the 40,000 subscriber mark, and we reached it, man. So give yourselves a huge hand clap, a huge round of applause. UCSS is booming. And we getting things going thanks to you all. So very appreciative of that. Remember, man, like, subscribe, ring the bell so that you can stay in the know about this show, all the other Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show spinoff shows, and of course our flagship, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, that comes to you every Monday through Friday, 11 to 12 p.m. Of course, 11 to 1 p.m. Of course, on Fridays we give it to you 11 to 12:30. We switch over to WKYC and give you that power hour. That power half hour on that mainstream. So take a quick break. Very excited. I got my man Mac Perry, who's been killing it, man. Been looking forward to working with this brother for a while now. Funny story, real quick, before I bring him in on how we met. I had some harsh comments about Darius Garland a couple months ago, and he was pretty critical. We had a conversation from that. So we're gonna take a quick word from our sponsors. When we get back, it's going to be me and Mac, man. We're going to give you the latest on Jared Allen. And we're going to talk to you about Tristan Thompson and Marcus Morris Sr. and how they have those unmeasurable intangibles that I think ultimately can lead the Cleveland Cavaliers to victory. So, again, we're going to take a quick break, come right back with the guests, and we're going to get into the show. Let's do it. As always, man, the Ultimate 216 Show is brought to you by FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and the NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win for your own. Right now, all new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make every playoff shot count. That's FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And with that, man, it is an honor to welcome to the stage. He is the host of the Its Cavalier podcast. He is a contributor to Fear the Sword, my man Mac Perry. What's up, bro?
What's going on, man? I appreciate that intro as well. I definitely do the back and forth.
I don't watch a lot of Steve Harvey. You know what I mean? Steve Harvey said you got to learn how to bring them out, man. So shout out to you. Thanks for taking some time out your busy day and your schedule to join me. Let's jump right into it. What's the latest on Jared Allen right now? I know he was at practice, didn't practice, plan on traveling with the team.
Yeah, so according to Evan Damrell, of Right Down Euclid, he was at practice today. He didn't really, I guess he didn't really participate in the practice, and the focus was on injury rehab and doing some individual work. But the plan apparently is for him to travel with the team and actually try and give it a go tomorrow. So we're hoping that we see Jared Allen, right? We're hoping that is the case, but it's still very much up in the air. And, JB Bickerstaff is quite tight-lipped most of the time when it comes to these injuries. It's always, we'll see, or it's a game time decision type of thing. So we truly don't know.
Yeah, I was in the media room for the pregame press conference. He spoke about the injury, but he didn't give too much information. I've heard a lot. This might have happened in game 1, maybe game 2. What are you hearing from what exactly when this transpired and how long Jared Allen has been playing through this rib injury?
I mean, what we're hearing is that it was an elbow. It was an elbow at some point. There is no cut and dry, answer that I can give you in regards to that. We just know it was an inadvertent elbow at some point during one of those games, and he has been playing through that pain. And I know a lot of people are wanting him to kind of suck it up, but you really, with these rib injuries, you just never really know how severe they are. And with the way that the team is usually really tight-lipped upon timelines. I mean, look what happened. Look at what's happening with Dean Wade right now. We have gotten next to no information in regards to that. The team just doesn't share a lot in that regard. So honestly, Earl, I can't tell you much.
Yeah, man. Let's move on to Darius Garland real quick, because that's kind of how this connection had happened. At that time, I was a proponent of bringing Darius Garland off the bench to kind of see if he can kind of get his feet wet. I had the mindset of, if he is quote unquote the star guard of the second unit, maybe not worrying about Donovan Mitchell and everybody else being on the court would do something to boost his confidence to kind of get him going. And we all know since then, up until that last game, it's really been a dismal for him. And, to really see him kind of find his shot, find his confidence, he come out in the first quarter, 17 points. He hit 3 3-pointers. And then in the post game, he talked about, I had that shoot first mentality, and he planned on, carrying that over into game 6. From what you saw in game 5, is that an indication to you that Darius Garland got a swag back, for less of a better term?
I would like to think that, Earl. And here's the thing. I think everybody this season, there's been varying opinions on Darius Garland. You had your own, no disrespect to that. Everybody has felt like there's millions of different answers to solve this riddle that has been Darius Garland's woes this year. He has dealt with a lot this year in terms of the injuries, in terms of off the field stuff, with the death of a grandmother, if I'm not mistaken. But to say that he's got his swagger back, I can't go that far just yet, right? Because we've seen individual performances since he's come back from that jaw injury that would point to him maybe turning the page and going back to the Darius Garland of old. But I have to see him do it consistently. 16 shot attempts in game 5. That was a beauty, right? We love to see that, especially with Donovan Mitchell not starting off the hottest and then finishing with a 14-point fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
But for him, it always goes back to confidence. That's the biggest factor with him. If the shot isn't falling, really since the jaw injury, if the shot isn't falling, he has kind of refused to go inside. And we actually saw him do that a lot in game 5. He drove to the interior of the defense, right into the heart, and he actually hit. And that was one of the things that we were really, really wanting to see from him, not just the 3-point shooting, because that hasn't been terrible this season in all aspects. It's really just been a major decline in terms of his interior presence. But I got to see him replicate it. I need to see him replicate that in game 6. I think a large portion of that is JB and Donovan. I mean, those guys instilling that confidence in him. And I'll tell you one play in particular that to me that stuck out was on one of those final possessions with about 45 seconds to go. Donovan Mitchell had the opportunity to take a shot, or at least hold the ball for the duration of this possession, but he passes the ball to Darius, knowing full well Darius has it going on. And what does Darius do? He drives inside and finds Evan Mobley for a wraparound dunk that puts the Cavs up 102-98. It's one of those things where if he just sees the ball go in, the confidence is going to slowly come back, and we're going to absolutely need him to be at his apex, or at least close to it, moving forward. But to answer your question in short, no, I need to see him replicate it.
Yeah, and I think that there's nothing wrong with that. For me, I would love to see him go on a road in Orlando and kind of duplicate the same performance. I know you and Mikey McNuggets spent some time together. He did a phenomenal job of breaking down a film of how basically Orlando was just leaving him open, daring him to shoot.
Absolutely.
They see that his confidence was so shot to where they was game planning around him. Like, let's see if this dude can really beat us. So it'd be interesting to see what type of game plan the Orlando Magic have for Darius Garland going into game 6. So Marcus Morris, man, didn't play at all up until game 5. Came in, made an immediate impact off the bench. And I remember at some point during the game, I said, I need more Tristan Thompson. I need more Marcus Morris. And I think that those unmeasurable intangibles that those two dudes provide, I think that's what the Cleveland Cavaliers need to get past Orlando in this series. But I also think that's what they need, Mac, man, to have a chance in the next series against Boston. We've talked a lot about this team lacking physicality, lacking toughness, and just that energy. And energy is something that we know, man, is contagious, right? Iron sharpens iron. As one person betters another. And you tend to, feed off the energy of certain players that fit certain roles. And just speak to how Marcus Morris Sr. asserted himself and what you expect JB's plan for him to be going forward.
So first off, let me just say this. A lot of people have been very critical of JB Bickerstaff, myself included, at certain points, and whether or not he was necessitated, that it was necessitated that he switched off of Niang on to Morris or not. I still got to give JB credit for sitting Niang down. And for those of you, who listen to me on my channel, on my podcast, you guys know I'm a huge fan of Georges Niang, but at the end of the day, I'm an even bigger fan of winning. And there's just something about the energy that Marcus Morris Sr. brings to the table. And Tristan Thompson as well. We've seen it in the past, but I just want to touch on Morris first. I mean, I just want to say that it was an excellent addition at the buyout market at the time. He checks a numerous amount of boxes for the Cavs. You already pointed to the toughness that he has, which was clearly needed heading into the offseason this past offseason, and at certain points this season where the Cavs have just been lacking that toughness, right? He checks that box, and then he is actually a true to size 4 who can legitimately space the floor. That's another aspect to it. And Earl, this is the thing with me. Like, we knew the Niang acquisition did accomplish the whole toughness thing, and he does bring a certain level of that to the table. But the thing about Niang with me is, if the shot is not dropping, he adds next to nothing. And that is not the case with Morris necessarily, because Morris can actually be a very capable defender. He is a solid rebounder, and we know that he can volume shoot when he gets hot. And he is actually a killer in the mid-range area, something that Niang does not have within his proverbial bag. And so for me, I mean, I know it's intangibles and things that you can't necessarily measure in a box score, but the biggest thing to me is that, unlike Niang, Morris can actually provide in both categories, right? He gives you those intangibles that you can't quantify with this stat, and he can actually contribute on the court. And that's the thing with me. Like, guy's a 12-year vet. He's got 70 games of postseason experience, including 40 starts, mind you, under his belt. That's big time for a Cavaliers team that just does not have a lot of postseason experience. He carries averages of 12.3 points, 5 boards, and he is shooting 40.4% on 4.4 attempts from 3-point distance in those postseason appearances. That is something that the Cleveland Cavaliers need. And you hit the nail right on the head. It's not even just this series. If you're looking ahead, and we don't want to do that, right? We don't want to jinx things. But if we're looking ahead at our potential opponent in the Boston Celtics, you absolutely have to have a guy out there that is able to do that. And then Tristan Thompson, not to go too long-winded with this. Tristan Thompson may have very well been the 3rd best player during that finals run. There are certain points during that finals run where he looked a little bit more important to the team than Kevin Love at certain points, from a rebounding perspective, from a defensive perspective. And, you cannot quantify everything that a Tristan Thompson brings to the table. But I will say this. He's only played 25 total minutes during this series. That's about 8.3 minutes per game. I think his addition to this team is going to be on a very, very game-to-game specific thing. It's going to be matchup dependent. And when we think about that, we think about teams like the New York Knicks, if the Cavs are lucky enough to advance that far into playoffs. We think about matchups where his physicality and the attitude that he brings to the table is just something that is transferable, right? You talked about how energy is very, very there's an energy transference that can often occur with teams. If you see one guy bringing the energy, chances are the next guy's going to start bringing that, and then on and on. And there's just something contagious about the way that he plays. But I will say, I think the guy only played 9 minutes in game 5. I don't know how much we'll actually get to see of him moving forward.
Nice. This is Mac Perry of Its Cavalier podcast, man, joining me on the Ultimate 216 show. Got about another 5 or 6 minutes with Mac, man. Don't forget, in the comment section, drop the hashtag U216. Let me know where you're watching from, man. And if you got any questions for Mac before we get out of here, definitely put them in the chat. I'll try to get to them as soon as I possibly can. Mac, tell them where they can find your podcast at real quick.
It's Cavalier Podcast, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, really anywhere you stream, you can find me on there. My biggest presence is probably on YouTube though. We ain't at the 40K. We ain't hit the 40K like y'all, but I'm at the 20 mark. I'm trying to continue to grow.
So make sure, man, y'all are like, subscribe, ringing the bell for my man's Mac's podcast, man. He does fire work. Mac, I've been critical of JB Bickerstaff myself. It seems like to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, JB has twice now stumbled upon things that work well for the Cavs due to injury. And it seems like that if it's not for the injuries that has taken place, I say at times, it leaves us with more questions than answers about, okay, you know, is these adjustments being made because by default or is an epiphany happening with you? I thought the move to sit Georges Niang, you know, and give Marcus Morris Sr. those minutes, I thought that was phenomenal. I thought not forcing another big in the starting lineup and letting Isaac Okoro take that role, I thought that was phenomenal. The Cavs went back to that 1 in, 4 out system that worked so well during that stretch in January, and you've seen the results of that. Why is it that he just won't stick with that?
I don't get it, man. And, you know, people call me a JB truther all day long. I do have to admit, there is credence to the idea that he has stumbled upon these things that have worked rather than him actually finding out the adjustments on his own. He's kind of been forced into this, and, you know, it's worked one way or another, but it does kind of speak to the level of coach that he is, right? And that's why there's so many questions surrounding him. That's why a lot of people believe that if it's not Eastern Conference Finals or beyond, that JB will be gone no matter what. But in my eyes, I think he wanted to trust Niang, right? You had the guy within your rotation for the entirety of the season, basically. And so that level of trust has been built up, and he wanted to give the guy a chance to go out there and prove that he can do it in the playoffs, because a lot of people probably, despite Niang coming off of 5 straight seasons shooting 40% or better from 3-point distance, what a lot of people don't realize is that he was actually kind of played out of the rotation once the postseason began in many of the stops that he was at. And that trend has unfortunately continued with the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? And so for JB, I think it was just trust, right? He wanted to see if Niang could replicate that level of regular season success that he had at a certain level and just give him the benefit of the doubt. But clearly it didn't work out. And I'm glad that he finally pulled the plug. Still huge fan of Georges Niang, but when a guy doesn't have it as a coach, you just have to understand that, you know, regardless of how we feel about certain situations, certain players, you got to put the best product out there. And clearly Marcus Morris is offering us more right now. So, I mean, whether or not JB stumbled onto it or not, it's not for me to say, but what I can say is at least he has found something that is working in this series.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You know, I was in a building for Game 5. And one of the things, I know you've seen it on X, you've seen it everywhere. One of the things that happened early on, we talk a lot about this fan base being kind of hot and cold right now when it comes to Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. But during the intros, you know, Ahmad is doing his thing. He got the crowd going crazy. Darius Garland and Evan Mobley both got crazy ass ovations. Like the crowd was going nuts. But JB Bickerstaff was booed by damn near everybody in that arena. And to me, it just, I don't know, it resonated so much because here I am from where I sit wondering if this fan base has totally soured on Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, and it doesn't seem that way. But it damn sure seems like they are totally soured on JB Bickerstaff. And I'm noticing like the cat, even during the 18-2 stretch, right? Like, I think people have seen his ceiling as a coach no matter what happens this year. I think they're ready to move on from that. So final question for you, you know, and answer this the best way that you can. In your opinion, do you think that the Cavaliers made a mistake running it back a second season, this season with JB Bickerstaff, instead of letting them go and moving on last year?
Personally, no, I don't. I think when you look at the entirety of what he has done over the course of his Cavs tenure, there has been a level of growth, at least from a regular season standpoint. And we can sit here and argue whether or not the addition of a Donovan Mitchell, or you really start to see the incline whenever Evan Mobley is added into the equation. Once they drafted Evan Mobley, things really actually took off. You can throw Lowry in there as well, the acquisition of Lowry Markkanen and Ricky Rubio. But at the end of the day, no, I felt like they, at the very least, to the point that he got him to, one more year to prove that he actually could get the job done if you put the pieces around him. Everybody gave him grief. That's the kind way of saying it. Last season after the collapse. But a big part about what's not talked about is just the lack of rotation caliber players off of that bench. He has that this year. He has that in the starting lineup now with the addition of Max Strus. So there are no excuses, nothing for him to fall back on. So to answer your question short, no, I don't think they necessarily made a mistake, but I do think they probably could have gotten a better option than JB at this point. I don't want to see JB fail, make no mistake, but I do understand that the writing is kind of on the wall right now. And if he doesn't get to a certain level, he's done. That's just the truth. And I think a lot of that will be dictated by Donovan Mitchell as well.
Mac, man, I appreciate you for taking time out your busy day to join me, man. That is Mac Perry. Don't forget, man, subscribe, ring the bell. Its Cavalier podcast. Check my man out. He does fire content for the Cleveland Cavaliers. A very deep, spiritual rooted brother, man, who loves his family. Can't thank you enough, bro. Like, seriously, man. Thank you. Seriously. This means a lot.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Let's do this again sometime. All righty. Shout out to Mac, y'all. Drop a one in that chat, man, if y'all enjoyed that interview. We're going to take our last break of the day. When we come back, y'all know Ultimate 216, man, we give y'all sports, life, culture. So there's always a conversation to be had that parallels life to sports. And today, Andrew Berry was on with my other employer. He said some things that kind of triggered my mind. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the show talking about that. I'll take some questions and comments as well. But first is, all right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go, y'all. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that, but there's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasures or a robot Pankio machine. And there's always new timed events that will help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything that you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Don't forget, man, game on. So Andrew Berry was on 92.3 The Fan this morning with Ken Carman and Anthony Lima. Shout out to Ken and Anthony. And they, sat down, talked to Andrew Berry for about 20 minutes. And, after I got finished with my work here, I kind of stepped to the side just so I can take a listen, just to see what our general manager had to say. And he spoke to two different things. One of them I tweeted about. You can check that out at Earl Da Pearl 216 on the X app. The other one, I'm going to play the video for it. Now, full disclosure, the audio is not the best. There's some changes going on over at 92.3 The Fan, but I'll talk to you about that on that platform. This is courtesy of 92.3 The Fan, Ken Carman and Anthony Lima show this morning. This is AB talking about not being afraid to take risks. I just want y'all to take a listen to this. Check this out.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I want to do, I felt very fortunate that I worked for a lot of, in their own ways, very aggressive, that I really wanted to, an approach that I wanted to make sure that we employed, when I got the job, that, we weren't going to be afraid to take risks. I think, the NFL, it's designed to bring everybody into the middle, right? You start with the same amount of resources, the same amount of dollars. The draft order is designed in reverse order standing. It's designed to bring everybody to the middle of the bell curve, so to speak. And our goal is, you're trying to be the top team in the league at the end of the day. That's what everybody's goal is. And in order to do that, like, you have to take some swings. You have to be comfortable taking risks. And I wanted to always, look back at my time as a general manager and say, like, I wasn't afraid to take risks, wasn't afraid to take a swing that could help, improve the team. And for me, I'd rather be on either side of the extreme rather than just play it down the middle and always kind of be in the middle.
That was Cleveland Browns general manager Andrew Berry, audio courtesy of 92.3 The Fan. Listen, everything he just said, that's why I'm sitting right here right now and why I'm no longer working at the Justice Center. I think that sometimes in our lives, man, we get so comfortable with a job, a relationship, a situation in life, whatever that's going on around us, and we be so afraid of the unknown that we are afraid to take that leap of faith or that risk that might change the outcome, of our lives for the better. We sit in this, well, what if this goes wrong, or what if that happens, etc. And I just can remember, like, when I heard that, it made me think instantly of what I just told y'all. I worked at the Justice Center for a long time. Y'all know the story. And for the longest, I always knew I didn't want to be there, but I was so afraid to step out and take a risk because I was afraid to fail. And hearing Andrew Berry talk about, the approach that he takes to building the Cleveland Browns roster, he's willing to take some big swings, right? He's willing to take some extreme risk. Sometimes the reward is great. Sometimes it pay off. Sometimes it don't. But if you know that the NFL is a league that's driven by parity and is designed to everybody to always meet in the middle, then I think we need to have a better appreciation for having a general manager that's willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that the Cleveland Browns are sitting at the top of that threshold as often as we can, as consistent as we can be. And I think that same approach that Andrew Berry takes to building the Cleveland Browns is the same approach that you can take to bossing your life up, whether it be in your personal life, with a relationship, with a job, with a career, whatever the case may be. Like, if you want to go, pursue your dreams, but you find every excuse in the world not to do so, man, sometimes you got to step out there and take that extreme risk that might have like extreme payoff and might pay extreme dividends, right? Let's look at the Deshaun Watson trade. That trade from the Browns point of view, at least, it's still to be determined. But if you look at the Browns at that same time in the situation they was in, Baker Mayfield was good enough. They wanted to go out there and they wanted to have better than good enough. And they believed that Deshaun Watson was that person. That's why they made the trade, gave up the assets, and that's why ultimately Jimmy Haslam was willing to write whatever check that needed to be wrote to get him to be here. Now, have we seen the return on investment that we wanted to see yet? No, because the ultimate goal is with Deshaun Watson under center is to go win the Super Bowl. And so we can sit up here, we can get bogged down all we want to about how many passing yards and how many touchdowns to interceptions. I'm not going to lie to you and say I wouldn't like to see better stats. But for me personally, Deshaun Watson will always be measured by how often do the Cleveland Browns win with him under center. And not only that, when it's a tight moment and there's a 3 to 4 point differential in the game and the Browns is on the wrong side of that, no matter what has happened for the first 55, 58 minutes in the game, and those last 2 minutes, can Deshaun Watson go make a big-time play that ultimately will lead the Cleveland Browns to victory? And if he do those two things more often than not, then Foe gonna always be good with me. I don't really get caught up in the stats. And so I appreciate Andrew Berry for swinging big, even when he missed, because you know what? We can have a very conservative general manager that kind of like sits on his hands and too afraid to make a move. So think about that. We're talking about a dude who's willing to take some big chances and big risks, building out a football team. What is it in your life that you truly want to do? What is it in your life that you feel like is not right, that you just been sitting stagnant on, or that you just been sitting in an area of just being comfortable, right? Because that's all you know, or because you're afraid of the unknown. You can either sit there in that same space and wither away with uncertainty rolling through your head, or you can actually step out there and take a big leap of faith take a huge risk and end out on other end of the extreme. Because ended up on other end of the extreme, not only is it way more beneficial more often than not, but it's way more exciting than just staying stagnant because all you know is what you know, man. It's a big old world out here. You got to step out on faith. You got to put yourself in a position to always win. I got 4 minutes with y'all. Y'all got some questions for your boy? I can take them. If not, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. My man say, what's up, Earl and people? They'll say we need the happy face. What is this one? Yeah, Plasma said we need a happy Earl emote. Only got the angry one. Yeah, they got to go ahead and unlock that, man. They out of pocket for that. They said here, Marcus or Dean, if we survive Magic, not to jinx the Cavs, but looking ahead. Got a comment here that says JB doesn't like change like Tito, but Tito was a better coach, skipper. I agree with that right there. This right here says Cavs aren't afraid of getting rid of a coach, even if it's winning. It says here, Lord Luke says Cavs win tomorrow and they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. I promise you. Hey, Lord Luke, I'm on your type of time, man. I love that type of energy. That's what we need. Blueberry says, let's go, Cavs. We must play and step up our defense. Someone has to play defense. Someone stop letting them come down the middle. I am hoping Allen play today. We really need him. Yeah, listen, man, the more Jared Allen we can get, the better. Let's see here. Earl, maybe you could showcase local places for mental health. Hey, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. Hey, Chris Gillespie, man, shoot me an email. It's emalden@tegna.com. That's emalden@tegna.com. We'll rap about that, man. But I'll definitely put some places out there that's local for mental health. I'll even throw some places out there, man. If you're looking for a therapist or somewhere to go, whatever, for you or somebody else, I'll definitely help you out with that. What's up, man? Keep shining. I appreciate y'all. Good looking on Big X to plug. I just stumbled on Big Rilla. Hey, listen, Big X is him. Right now I'm listening to, hey, Mel, I'm listening to Meet the Sixes. Feeling like Dennis, one of my tracks, Change. Change kind of like hit real personal to me. All you got to do is just listen to the first 60 seconds of Change, and you'll figure out exactly what I'm talking about. That's right, man. Again, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, we definitely hit 40K. Listen, as always, man, I thank y'all for taking time out to join me today. As always, I love you. Be great. Spread love. Remember, man, being great comes with a price. Spread love is priceless. Y'all know the vibes. We back next Thursday. Until then, peace out.